What's going on? It's the Urban Playboy, Pretty Boy Smooth. You are now tuned in to Wrestling Cheers. Keep it player.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
And welcome back to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name. And woo woo woo, you know it. This is Wrestling Cheers, where we like to talk about things going on in Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we even have interviews along the way. This is a review of AIW's major announcement. I'm your host, Justin Summers, and Wrestling Cheers is brought to you by the Trending Topics Network and Midwest Territory. Please rate, review, and subscribe your ever listen to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose, desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com, and we have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Like I said, this is a review of AIW's major announcement. It was a crazy, fun weekend, and we got a lot to talk about. I've already introduced myself, and we also have Kenny from the Mystery Men.
Hey, Justin, what's happening? Thank you for having me on the show.
I don't have to censor you on this podcast.
No, it'll be all good. We'll be we'll keep it clean for all the little ones.
Well, I mean, you can cuss, but I know I censor you on Pod Van Dam, but you censor yourself. I just make it a little more authentic.
Oh, yeah. And you do a tremendous job, by the way. All of your hard work and efforts over there go very much appreciated.
Thank you very much. And we also have, making her return since I think the beginning of the year, we have Pam.
Hey, guys.
I've tried to get you on recently, and I'm happy we finally made everything work.
Yeah, last week was kind of a bust with working and everything, but I requested today off to recover, and it was kind of perfect, so I could end up on the podcast.
It was such a fun weekend, whether it was AIW, whether it's Toyhio. Toyhio is something we can delve into, because that was so much fun. But yeah, it's great to have you on, and it's great to have you on, Kenny, too. So actually, let's delve into Toyhio, Kenny. I mean, you probably won't have much to say here.
I just want to hear about all the weekly purchases.
So Toyhio was crazy. I think that they did break an attendance record. 1,800 people. Well, a little over 1,800 people were there.
1803. Yeah.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Dude, I worked the table like right in the lobby, and the amount of people that came through there, Jesus.
Like before it opened, the lines for both sides were wrapped around to the next side of the building. I don't know how I would describe that. Like they both went around that first corner of each side.
So I got to see the one side because at 9:40, Stacy comes to me and was like, I need money because I bought this figure, and not like a wrestling figure, but like Leatherface. And I need to give him money. And I was like, I don't have fucking cash. So I had to leave and go to an ATM, and I lost my parking spot that was up close. So I ended up in that giant parking lot over on the one side of the building. And when I parked, I was coming up, and the line was literally down the entire side of the building and like starting to like go towards the parking lot.
Yeah.
So it was like in the parking lot, up that side, and up the front to the front door on that side of the building. And then I saw the video of the other side, and I was like, Jesus Christ. And that was just all at 10 a.m. Like, and there were so many more people.
Yeah.
That line didn't stop until almost noon to actually come in the door. It was insane.
So great to see so much success from Toyhio. But then there was also, too, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast was there, and that line was full the entire time.
The entire time.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was right around noon when they cut it off. When they're like, okay, no more people. And there were a handful of people, maybe including myself, that got in like, all right, like, you know, this is the last person. Okay, no, this is the last person. No, this is okay. But then there was at one point, it was like, okay, we got to be done. No more people, because we can't risk, you know, disappointing people who are going to be waiting in line. Like, we got to be like, you know, sorry, you know, they have to leave. So you were told when the signing was, you know, and obviously they are popular. And I will explain this too for anybody who doesn't know or anything like that. I mean, this kind of happens at bigger signings where it's just like there's always going to be a line and there's going to be a cutoff. What's crazy is when Brian Myers was there were slow points. There were times where maybe nobody was in line, but, you know, I mean, that's how I got my interview in. And there were 2 points in that interview that were obviously edited out where he had to stop, get up, and, you know, sign some autographs from people because the line was starting to build. That couldn't have been done on this day because so many people. And myself and friend of the show, Ed Mattis, like, when we were actually both there towards the end, and there was a dude who came in like bitching a fit about it, about him missing, you know, the line and everything. And he drove 3.5 hours and all this shit. And I know it sucks, but here's kind of how it goes in the world. I mean, it sucks when that happens, but, you know, bitching a fit about it isn't necessarily going to get you what you wanted.
He ended up at my table.
Oh,
because he ended up telling me the story about it after Rick came and told the story about it.
oh God.
And then, other funny fact about that day, people were showing up at 4 o'clock because they saw somewhere online it was from 4 to 8.
Oh, ooh, that would suck.
Like, literally, as people are packing up and leaving, like, people are showing up to meet Swoggle.
Oh, I mean, that's even worse because he was gone at 1. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Well,
like, that whole part of everything was done and out the door because they had to fly out to wherever and go. So they had to leave. And yeah, like, it... people showing up at 4.
That's crazy because, I mean, even I didn't get a chance to go to Toy Ohio, but like with other toy shows that I've gone to, it's usually more like a morning, like early afternoon type of thing. And it's like if you even get there, say the show runs until 4 o'clock, like sometimes you get there at 2:33 and like people are already packing up their stuff. Like some vendors are already, depending on the show, packing up and get ready to leave. So it's weird that people would be like, oh yeah, I thought this toy show was at 4 to 8. Like, I've never heard any toy show be it like listed at that time.
Yeah, people in that area are dumb though, so I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't doubt if it was a local because Rick's store had been open the day before from 4 to 8.
Oh, so that's had to be what it was. Someone got their wires
like,
crossed.
It had to be some dummy, like
somebody got confused, got their days mixed up.
So, yep. It was funny, though. Gave me a good chuckle.
Well, back to that dude. Here's the moral of the story. Like, he didn't get what he wanted by bitching a fit. But what he could have done, and he is in the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Patreon Facebook group, and I basically told him this, and he didn't like it, but it was like, if you would have waited, you could have got in. Like, just make kind of a compromise, like, I'll wait here. But if everybody's able to go through and there's time, I would like to get in. That line was over within a few minutes before 1. He could have got in. Cooler heads prevail, and sometimes you just have to be patient. And if you get disappointed, you just have to go, oh well, on to the next one. Bitching a fit to Rick got him nowhere. I watched him bitch to the guy who was there before Rick showed up, and he said, I'm going to complain to Rick. And then Rick happened to be literally about to walk around the corner. Not like, oh, I hear something's going on. It was just like he was doing his normal patrol, just walking around. And he kind of like storms off a little bit. And then like a couple minutes later, while he's talking to Rick, I mean, he said he's, you know, he was like storming off or whatever. He's leaving. Fuck this shit. Like right to Rick. But then like within a couple minutes, maybe even like 1 minute, he was just like, well, I'm not storming off, or I'm not whatever he said. And like me and Ed looked at each other. We're like, yeah, you are. Like, dude, you're taking this way too fucking crazy.
He seemed like a complete shitheel, so that's exactly what I would expect out of that kind of person. No more, no less. People just fucking suck anymore.
he tried to say like it was a bad business decision. And even in that Facebook group, you know, Cardona commented. He was like, hey, like, you know, we were signing from 10-1, not the line would be open from 10-1. Like, you have to think about those kind of things. And he tried to, like I said, he tried to say he drove so far and all this stuff. But I mean, that at the end of the day, you know, you got to kind of chalk it up as a loss. You could have won, you could have got it, but you know, you chose to fuck up. But getting off that, as a whole, like, I had so much fun walking around that place. We'll always promote Toy Ohio. You know, basically also too, because, you know, whether being friends with Rick, friends with Tom when he was alive, I love Toy Ohio. And I think it's funny that I went in there, I bought no toys. I bought tapes. I bought a lot of tapes. No toys. There was no toys on my radar or any that I seen that I was like, I gotta have it. There were some that I kind of looked at, I was like, whatever. But tapes. There's actually, I think it might be like Rick's brother has a table there right beside, or maybe one of his friends has a table like really close to, or set up like really close to Rick for Time Capsule Toys. I don't exactly know what business his brother or friend runs, but he almost always has tapes. And literally, I darted for that because I was like, I know he's going to have something, and I know I'm not going to find like rarely any throughout that place, but actually there were a lot more. Picked up a handful of stuff. I got me another Ghostbusters one, so now I'm down to like one Ghostbusters VHS I need to find. I'll have all the versions. But the cool thing for me, because actually there were some more that had other tapes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoons. I grew up on those, and I completed the Burger King set, which had 4. I had one that I bought not too long ago. Yeah. And then I bought I bought the other 3.
Oh my God, I had that shit when I was a kid, and I swear to God, my mom still has it in her shed. Like, that was my shit. The FHE tapes.
Yeah, I mean, I think FHE did a lot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but like in particular, because actually I've come to find out, obviously, when you think about it, there were a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle tapes because they were that popular. But I always, I think if you were a kid growing up in that time, fast food always had like some really cool products, whether it be like some of the Christmas ornaments that McDonald's would have, or whether it be something like that from Burger King. And I know I had 1 or 2 of them. I never had the whole set. But the fact is, I saw between 2 tables, I saw all of the ones that I needed. And I was like, ooh. And I did price check, because I was like, I can't just say like, okay, I'm going to buy them all from you because you're right here. I checked with one, and they were like, oh yeah, they're $2 a set. $2 like a set. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me go check the other one. They were wanting $10 each.
What?
Yeah, there was one that they had that the other one didn't have. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take this one. But I also bought, this is crazy, I bought 2 cassette tapes. I bought Coming Out of Their Shells cassette, which I have the VHS too, and I've never watched it, so I got a whole experience that I get to live. And then the TURTLE Power single. So I picked those up, went to the other table, bought the other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles VHS. I'm like, oh yeah, $2. Like, yeah, I'm gonna buy these ones here. Then I found some like some wrestling VHS that I bought, but oddly enough, that was my experience there, and I had so much fun. And I will say this: my fiance Amanda bought. We have to double check the count. 57 Goosebump books, and that's 3 short of the set, or no, I think 5 short of the set. Maybe I might have went up to 62.
That's freaking crazy.
Yeah. And she had been kind of looking for them, and she hadn't like bought any, and like with almost the whole set there, she's like, oh, I don't know. I was like, well, like, it's up to you. You make the decision. I'm like, I know what money I'm spending here, and I'm going to have $100 that I got to spend at the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast table. If you want it, get it. I'm not going to tell you no. Like, this is completely up to you. Like, it's your hunt. She's like, fuck it. I'm doing it.
You know what I spent a lot of money on?
Fudge.
I bought so much from the Fudge guy, and then I also had food from Smokin' Jay's Barbecue.
That's the other thing I was going to get on. Like, we love Toy Ohio, and then obviously, you know, we love Smokin' Jay's Barbecue. Brock's, you know, a part of this show. Him and Smokin' Jay's is part of like the whole Wrestling Cheers family, Northeast Ohio independent wrestling family, AIW family, whatever you want to call it. We love Brock, and I will share this. He sent me a message last night, and like, I think this is crazy, and it's just kind of how it goes. He said, had somebody come up today and say they were excited to try my food because they heard me on your podcast. I think that's I think that's crazy. And if anybody like maybe hears us talking about it, has never had, you know, Smoking Jay's barbecue, like it's good shit. And you know, I'm not saying that as like, oh, we're friends with him. So I'm just saying like it's good food. No, it's good. And if there's one thing we talk about, there's one thing we all love. Pam, what is it?
Mac and cheese.
That smoked mac and cheese is so good, to the fact of literally,
So good.
I don't want to say I got upset. I mean, I didn't say that I drove like 2.5 hours just to get there, but last Toy Hio, I didn't get any of that stuff. Or I didn't get the pulled pork, and I actually think he was out of mac and cheese too. And I was like, damn, that sucks. But that was on me.
I don't even want to talk about that. I literally sat across from the fucking table the entire time and didn't get mac and cheese. Like I was so mad last show. So
I felt disappointed, and that was on me. And like one of my issues was I get food on the way there, like as a breakfast. So I'm like, cause that's just kind of a normal thing for me. If I'm going like doing like a trip like that, get food for the road, especially like a breakfast, and go. So this time around, it's like, okay, I want Smoking Jay's barbecue. I want my pulled pork. I want my mac and cheese. No breakfast. Like I'll have an energy drink. That's it. So we waited in line for the short amount of time we were actually there for the line. Went through. I went to pick up VHS tapes, and then we started walking around just a little bit. Then Amanda was like, "You want to go get food now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do that." Like I'm not in a rush for anything around here. I got my tapes that I want, and gotta get Smoking Jay's barbecue.
With the amount of people that were coming through the door around like 11:15, I was like starting to get worried. I'm like, man, I know there have been a lot of people over there too, and I see how low that tray is getting. I don't know how much he actually has. And Stacy had left to go help Dom at the AIW table and got sucked in there. And I'm like, I tried going in there to find him because I'm like, man, I want food now. You better hurry up. If I miss out on this fucking mac and cheese again, I'm gonna be real mad. But I ended up finding him. I was like, I want food. So that's when I got mine. And oh my God, people probably are going to think I'm weird, but I literally will take his spicy barbecue sauce and douse it on everything. So I like put it on the mac and cheese too. Oh my God, it's so good on the mac and cheese, like life changing.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I would usually zip up macaroni and cheese with something hot. So like a hot barbecue would be something I would do.
I've done A1 like by accident, and I fucking love it. So like I'll do that, and people think I'm fucking weird for it, and I'm like, it's delicious. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. People think I'm crazy because I'll dip pizza in applesauce, but hey.
I knew you were gonna bring that up.
Yeah, that's the classic go-to. See, and it's not just me. Other people do it too.
And here's the crazy thing about that. Like, so many people have like thrown that in my face. And like, you know what? Like up until last year when I did it once, I hadn't done it in like a long time. So then when people are like, well, you like doing that. And I'm like, I mean, I don't do it a lot. Like a lot of times I'll eat pizza. And like, I'm just going to eat pizza. Like, that's it. I don't care. I'm just going to eat pizza.
I think it's gross when people douse their pizza in ranch.
I was going to get to that.
Disgusting.
No.
Yeah,
that's gross.
No good.
But you hate ranch as a whole.
Yes.
But
I still find that disgusting. Like,
I know enough about you, Pam. You really hate it. Like, really hate it.
Mm-hmm. Really hate it.
I love it.
It's so gross. But yeah, like my little sister, like she would. Oh my God, I could not eat pizza around her. Like she used to gross me out so hard.
I just realized too, I had 2 days in a row macaroni and cheese and barbecue. So yesterday at Toy Hio, as of recording this is a Sunday, but I had obviously Smoking Jay's barbecue with smoked mac and cheese and the pulled pork. Today I was at my fiance's parents' house, my future in-laws, and there's this combination of theirs that I've wanted them to make for so long. Her dad makes really good barbecue ribs. Like I don't know what it is. It's not just regular rack of ribs. It's a certain cut. It's certain, I don't know exactly. No, they might be beef ribs. I'm not her. I don't know, but they're so good. And then her mom makes really good homemade mac and cheese. Like she makes it in the oven. I think I've looked. I think she uses Velveeta cheese, cuts it up, like cooks the shells, puts them in like one of those baking dishes. I think that she puts milk in and then like puts the Velveeta cheese on top. throws it in the oven. It comes out so good. And long as I've known her, they've never made them on the same night. And I was like, I want that. I wanted it for my birthday, but like we've had to push it off for so long. Today was the day we did it. It was so good.
Wonderful.
I make a killer crock pot mac and cheese, so I feel that.
I've never heard of anybody doing crock pot mac and cheese. That sounds good.
Oh my God, Pinterest, bro. Have Amanda look it up. Seriously. Or you if you want to make it.
I'm probably be the one who makes it.
Because the man belongs in the kitchen.
I thought women belong in the kitchen.
No, the man does.
Yeah, Amanda. She'll be in the kitchen. I don't see the confusing news.
Way to put a spin on my words there, Justin.
But yeah, I'm actually normally the one that does a lot of the crockpot stuff. But that does sound interesting. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, it involves Velveeta and shit. But yeah, I think you'd like it.
Close to 20 minutes on this episode, and we have not talked anything about major announcement. But we had.
Well, there were no dark matches, so I mean, like, we have to use it for something.
Wrestling Cheers, where everyone loves mac and cheese.
That's very true. We'll get to the no dark matches thing a little bit later on in the episode, but we just had to give love to Toy Hio and talk about all that stuff. I look forward every year. Now the fact too, we're also going to get a third Toy Hio, and one of the craziest amount of coincidences, and I gotta message this to Rick when I get a chance. The fact that the theme for the poster, or at least for the first poster for the next Toy Hio, which is in October, was Goosebumps. And Amanda bought all those Goosebumps books. It was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy when I saw the flyers, and I was like, wow, that's pretty rad that's the theme for next time. Like, maybe she'll find something cool here for that too. Like, and then my favorite thing I just saw in the thing Rick posted in the Toy Hio was like, R.L. Stein is not the guest. It's just a theme. I was cracking up.
I look forward to the next one very much.
Me
I
too.
guess
I'll be working.
the only last piece of suspense is that I saw a friend of the show, Fancy Gentleman, Adam Van, tweet that he did 27 laps and saw two things that he wanted. And on the 28th lap, one of those things was purchased. So I'm looking to find out what were those two items? What was the one that he missed out on, and did he make the purchase on the second one? So
I think it was the Macho Man, because I actually talked to him outside when he was ripping a heater, and I think that's what he told me.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
We'll have to find out on this week's episode of At Odds with Wrestling.
So
yeah, that too.
It'll come out tomorrow after this episode comes out, if they don't do another Thursday release. But on about that whole thing, I know those things go fairly quick. I think a year ago, Tom had one, and I think it went pretty quick. And I've seen a bunch of them available online. I know he's been looking for it, and I've forwarded to him. I'm like, dude, this is for sale. If you want it, go here. Or I'd be like, hey, I can, if you want it, send me the money. I'll give it to this person. We'll do this. He's like, no, I'm going to get a Toy Hio. I'm going to get a Toy Hio. And I'm looking everywhere at Toy Hio, just a random things. I'm kind of looking for things that I want. If it wasn't for the box for the Slim Jim Macho Man, which is that iconic Slim Jim actual box with the logo on it, which it stands out. So
yeah, it's an awesome box, but you can't see the figure when it's in the box. I
don't care. I keep it in the box. As crazy as it is, I keep it in the box, even though it's still in a box outside of the box because it's in a different box. It's a complicated thing.
It's a box in a box.
It's like if Chase Oliver would eat Chase Oliver would eat Chase Oliver.
It's a big boy. It's a big boy, let me tell you.
But I saw it. I saw it first. And I was like, I got to go find Adam. Find him actually fairly quick. And I'm like, dude, you want it? It's over here. He follows me. And he's like, it's a little much. I'm like, I'm going to look around, see if I can find anything else. I know, you're in those moments at these toy shows where it's like, okay, do I buy it now? Or do I look around, make sure nobody else has it, and come back and maybe buy it, maybe haggle or whatever it may be. Sometimes, especially something like that, it's you got to jump on. And I know he waited and it was gone. And I knew he was looking for it at Toy Hio, since I knew that I waited because there was one I saw on Twitter from a friend. he was selling a bunch of figures and he was actually going to sell it for like $130. But I'm like, no, like I'll send it to Adam. And he'd be like, no, I'm just going to try to find a Toy Hio. He had it. It was right there. And like, that's something you learn going to these toy shows too. I've had it happen a few times and it's just like, oh shit, that sucks. And you just got to move on.
Thrill of victory and the agony of defeat all rolled into one.
Yes. So there was I don't know if you guys know this, there was a wrestling show that went on this past weekend.
I had no idea.
Some kind of major announcement?
Yeah, the AIW's major announcement actually too. And we'll get to it later on. There was a major announcement. Actually, there's a couple major announcements during major announcement. So sad major announcements, and we will get to all those. But I guess I'm the only one that paid money to meet Matt, Brian, Mark, and Swoggle. Well, both days, but I mean, I wasn't the only person that ever did it. But like of this panel, I'm the only person that did it. Kenny wasn't there. Watched it on IWTV. Pam was there. Definitely not spending money on that. Understandable. But I did. I
did not.
Ooh, aside too, if I'm going to throw a lot of love at Time Capsule Toys and Toy Hio and all that kind of stuff, big, huge shout out to Kayfabe Collectibles. I picked up No Holds Barred on VHS, and I picked up, I think,
good pick.
I think it's Stomp Series, it's either 2 or 3, whatever one has The Undertaker. And he knew I was looking for Stomp figures, and he hit me up about 2 weeks, maybe it was actually a week ago, a week before the show, that is. And he said, hey, I thought I sold you all the ones that I had. I have this other one, you know, I can bring it to AIW. And I'm like, yes, bring it. And then I seen like in a previous post, like a week or so before that, I said, hey, like I knew there was a No Holds Barred. Did anybody buy No Holds Barred on VHS? He said, no, I can put that aside too if you want it. And I was like, yes, give me that. So I picked those up, PayPal'd him before the show. Great dude, you know, hit up Kayfabe Collectibles, friend of the show, and friends of the show. So always give love to that dude. If you happen to be at an AIW show, peruse his stuff. He's got a lot of great stuff, and he's always coming up with different stuff, obviously, because he keeps selling. He has a camper full of this shit. But
awesome.
I picked that up.
Shout out to Joey and wife.
Yes, they're if they
also showed up at Toy Hio too. They were there as guests.
Yes, so many people like that showing up as guests. Also, like, not actually, this person wasn't a guest. They were a vendor. We had Toy Vomit there. Talked to him for a little bit. And
oh yeah, that's right.
I didn't see, and I've not ran into him at these shows, but Pollyanna.
Actually, he came up to me while I was working at the table and introduced himself to me. So I officially got to meet Pollyanna DIY. Jake, he's real nice.
Yeah, I saw a photo. I think he tweeted out or someone else tweeted out of him taking a photo with somebody, which was cool.
So yeah,
Jake's a good cat.
Yeah, huge shout out to him. I have so many pins of his. It's nuts.
Yeah, so do I. And he was actually one of the last. I hit him up when he said he wasn't going to be doing stuff anymore, and he did sweet pins for my reggae band Dub Proof. It's like the state of New Jersey in the red, green, and gold with it says Dub Proof down the side, like the coast, which is where we're from. So they came out really awesome.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Quick question about that Undertaker Stomp figure. Is it underwater vibe or is it more outer space?
Because it's not in front of me right now. I can't remember if I've said this on the show before or recently, but my office is a mess. I have like stacks of figures that I need to put on my wall, and I need to actually reorganize my wall. So like it's in this stack of a box of figures to my right behind my printer, and I can't see it, and I forget what to do, because like in my head I'm like, because the packaging is very similar between the two.
Yeah, it's because it's very. I'm not sure if I know he definitely had a Stomp 3, which was an outer space theme.
Oh, then that's what it is, because I don't think there's any doubles between Series 2 and 3.
Okay. Because I have the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal in their outer space gear. Actually, they're LOD 2000. Yeah. And there's a bunch of weird outer space stuff going on there. And then I also have the Owen Hart, which is the underwater scuba diver thing. It comes with flippers and like a backpack and like an oxygen tank. deep sea diver type deal. Very strange, but yeah, that's what those stomp figures are pretty crazy.
I pulled up a thing on my phone to double check. Yeah, Undertaker is part of Series 3, and I'm missing of Series 2 China and Headbanger Thrasher, and then in Series 3 I'm missing Kane and Animal, and then that will be it.
Nice, because I remember getting the China like back when they were new, because that was like her first figure, and then I recently picked up the Owen and that kept that on the card, and then I guess it was about a month ago I picked up the Road Warriors as a set. There's a vintage spot in Jersey that specializes in wrestling figures.
Nice.
That I'll hit up. It's about a half hour from my house. Funkenstein Wrestling Superstore at the Englishtown Flea Market. Hit them up. They're awesome.
So
if you're ever in the New Jersey area.
So I met, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast on this day. I mean, I'd met them before, but I paid for 2 autographs, both from Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder, on some Zack Ryder figures. One that he actually fucked up when he signed back in November. He signed Matt Cardona and not Zack Ryder. And
awesome. You got one of those sweet Cardona mistakes.
Yeah, but luckily with this one, it was on the Series 59 Elite, with it, which for those who don't know, it's like Zack Ryder in this like USA Sting gear, basically.
Right. If you take the Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, and Sting's USA gear, it's a combination of all 3 of those.
Mm-hmm.
For that Elite figure. But that's funny. It's like today's episode of That's Broski. He like has to think about what he's going to sign first, and has done like totally made mistakes, and that's awesome that you got one of them. That's funny.
But here's what happened. Like, he signed it on a retro figure, and he signed it on that Series 59. Well, the Series 59, like, it's a nice big window. I was able to wipe that off. So it was like redo. The retro, he signed on the card. There's no redoing that, but those figures are a lot cheaper. I can spend under $20 and buy new retro, depending on where I'm buying it from. I think I paid $15, but I've seen other places they're $10 or $5. Actually,
Ringside's probably got them up for cheap.
Yeah. Well, I saw it at a toy store, and I was like, well, I'm going to buy it because I'm right here. Well, since it was so cheap compared to rebuying another Series 59, that is, I think, between 75 and 100 last time I checked. But there's a handful of figures I might be mixing up in my head, but it's not like, oh, it's $20. No, it's up there.
Definitely an expensive figure at this point on the secondary market.
So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to wipe this off. So I made sure, I was like, okay, please sign Zack Ryder and not Matt Cardona. And I explained to him how he fucked up. And the funny thing is, like, Brian's over there laughing, and I explained to him, like, he did it at Live 6 when he was drunk. So I was like, but he did it right. But of course, I'm wearing a Nick Gage shirt. So I had to get the picture of me flicking him off with one hand, throwing up MDK with the other hand, and yeah, just to do it. He was a good sport about it. He didn't really give me shit, but it's something I had to do, and I think it's popped a lot of people.
Nice. I mean, I was thinking that they were going to do that match in either Chicago or Los Angeles or Vegas or someplace to try and like draw new people to someplace new. But when they said they were going to do that homecoming an hour away from my house, I was like, okay, cool. Here's my purple shirt. Here's my broski glasses. Here's my vest with the Major Pod patch on it. I'll probably find some awful chalk line shorts to wear with the broski pendant and the broski dog tags I picked up at a vintage toy store for $1. And I'll bring the Elite. It's like one of the early Elites where he's in the one-legged tights. Mm-hmm. I'll have that in a Defender, get that signed, and basically flip off the non-body wash GCW faithful and have a whole lot of fun doing it in the process.
Yeah,
and I'll also be handing out toothpaste and toothbrushes.
God.
It's important. You want to, make sure your teeth are clean when you go places.
I mean, I think deodorant's the thing that you got to pass out a lot of places, but that's a story for a different day. Especially after going to a wrestling show in a toy show and you walk by some people and you just go, ugh.
That's right.
It's called a shower. Please take one.
Fresh and so clean.
But So yeah, that's a lot of the pre-show shit. And we're, like a good amount into this episode, and we've not talked about one single match. So let's get into the show. We started off the show with a nice fatal 4-way. We had Riley Rose, Casey Carrington IV, Sid Von England, and TKD. Is it Tom Quando? Because that's his Twitter, or like he does get introduced as Tommy Kyle Dean, right?
I don't know. I just say TKD because I can't keep track anymore.
With the online stream, the Tom Quando chants came through crystal clear. Seems like he's very over in the Odeon.
That's something I thought of, but I wonder if it's because TKD was going against 3 fairly new names to AIW. 2 of them weren't in all 3 of them weren't in AIW before Go For Broke. But TKD has been around for years. He might have had his own like fan base in there, like having friends and everything. Not saying like.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. He's like the one familiar face.
Yeah.
And with a group of some dudes of people, maybe not everybody's all that familiar with just yet.
Yeah. And like, he definitely deserves a lot of that. He's somebody that I felt like, and I think it's been talked about on this show about how, he seems like maybe stagnant, or it's just like he wasn't catching on, and maybe Go For Broke helped him. And that could be another aspect of it, to where people watched him on Go For Broke, heard his story, and went, I really like him.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think that's a lot of the case for a lot of the newer AIW talent who used Go For Broke as definitely not just their introduction, but their, springboard into them being actively, part of the show and having, telling their story and being able to, take off with a career.
What are your thoughts, Pam?
I'm sorry, I fell asleep a little bit ago because you guys were talking about the dolls and the meeting and all this stuff. So touching a little bit on what you guys both just said, Go For Broke definitely helped the other 3 names in a way. But Riley has stood out to me the most in all of it. He is definitely, for what was shown on Go For Broke and what he's done in the last 3 shows, including this one, he's definitely like starting to show himself a little bit and like trying to make his name at AIW. Like, he's definitely a new guy, and we haven't really had new people. You know what I mean? Like, he's done wrestling before. He's wrestled other places. Like, this isn't his first go around. Like, people had been tweeting about him in the past that I've seen, and like seeing him come to AIW, like to train and do whatever that he's doing. Like, it's great to have him here. And like that shit that he did off the top rope, Jesus Christ, that was chef's kiss, beautiful. Like, feet first, destroying heads. Like, Stacy made a little clip earlier. It was pretty fucking rad to that, but yeah, I thought it was a good match, though. Like, everybody is really starting to show themselves, and Sid is really cool, and I like watching him wrestle. I've seen him at one other place since wrestling has been back pretty much, and I really like him and Eden, even though they're not in this match, but you know what I mean. But yeah, my thoughts.
I mean, as a whole, I hope we see more from the Von Englands. I mean, we've now seen Sydney in 2 matches. We haven't seen Eden at all in singles. We've only seen them in the
match with Razor and them.
I was gonna say the Go For Broke Bankrupt Battle.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah, the Bankrupt Battle Royal. So definitely hoping more from them. Both Eden and the team, and also too, like, I saw the Von Englands at OCW on Saturday, and I got to see Sydney do comedy, and he was fucking hilarious. So he's somebody I want to see more of, and I think there's a lot of personality there. And if the Von Englands are a somewhat permanent mainstay in AIW, I'm going to be really happy about that. There's going to be a lot of growth, I think, between them, and they're going to be good additions because you're going to have 3 different divisions they can compete in. You got men's, you got women's, and you got tag. It's going to be
For
fucking
sure.
awesome. And of course, intergender too. Like there's sky's the
Right.
limit.
Yeah, those two are definitely a welcome thing for AIW. Like, they're pretty freaking great. Like, they're definitely going to do well there.
Any other thoughts on this match?
I thought it was a really fun indie-rific scramble. Casey Carrington IV has got a bunch of moves that people would call, they would spell it with a Z on a 2006
I was just about to
message board.
ask that.
Yeah, like he's one of those type of cats. Riley Rose gives me big Ilya Dragunov vibes in that he's like, that's like stocky muscle dude who's still going to flip around and do a bunch of nutty stuff. So this was your classic, really fun, really hot opener AIW scramble that has, lived up to what we've all come to know and love when AIW is like, oh, we're going to throw 4 guys in a match, or here's 6 guys in a match. Like, it was a lot of fun and a great way to start the show.
Absolutely.
All right. It was TKD getting the win via pinfall. Let's move on to the next match. Next up, we have Mikey Montgomery versus Philly Collins. And so we got to see a match from Mikey before he's going to die at the next show. That was very nice to see. Did maybe you would know this, Pam, how was Ed during this match? Did you know if he was yelling stuff or not? He was too far away for me to know where he was.
I don't even know where Ed was because he wasn't sitting with us.
Okay. I don't, of course, too, like, I think he had GA, but like, I didn't know if anybody kept track of if he was yelling or what he was yelling, because I was kind of like, okay, this is your boy, and you know he's going to die at the next show. What crazy shit are you yelling? And he had to be yelling shit later on.
Yeah, I was trying to pay attention to everything so bad, and this is going to sound horrible of me, but like, my brain is just so shot that like, I had a hard time like gathering notes for this. But like, yeah, like I couldn't, even if I tried to find Ed during that, like I had no idea where he was. I was just like super focused.
I think one of the great things about AIW is, and we'll definitely get onto with the next match when we get to it, but the tag team division is so stacked. There are so many great teams, and like some of the stories we're telling coming out of Go for Broke of like, okay, you got PME. Well, they finally ended what I'm guessing they've actually ended the feud with To Infinity and Beyond. Okay, we got to move on to the other teams. You've had the Bitcoin Boys like nipping at their heels ever since, they formed. And you also have all the other teams in the division. And then you have some teams that like just debuted at the last set of shows. Like there's a lot here. And
that's the one thing about AIW. Like they definitely have a stacked tag team division.
So that's the story I feel like we've been telling in Go for Broke and with this particular matchup, because somebody's got to face them. Also, too, even when we get to Marino's match, that's another team that is a viable opponent for PME.
Very true.
I mean, I think that's my only comments on this match. I think Mikey and Eric as a whole, whether it's singles competition or whether it's tag team, the shit that they're doing. And I think we didn't play the promos. I kind of stopped playing promos on the preview show because a lot of the times there would be promos that came out on the day the show released, and I obviously can't get those in. Some that show up at the last minute, like while I'm editing. But both promos from both Bitcoin Boys were great. And that's
Eric's promo fucking killed me. Sitting in that fucking hot tub, drinking his milk and eating his olives off his fingers.
Well, even Mikey too. Like that was
a really good one.
The way he spoke, just it feels like a new Mikey. And I think too, a lot of us have made the connection. Like he looks like a serial killer.
Serial killer.
Yeah. I think in his promos and even his wrestling, like that's showing more too. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, he's going to be this like Dexter character. I mean, that's on NXT, but no, like nothing like that. Like he just has that look and that vibe to where it's still Mikey, but Mikey is a killer. And that's what we've been seeing from him. So you get this new lockdown Bitcoin Boys. one way or another, they're going to come for the titles. And if they get to the point where they win, I won't be surprised.
No, I won't be surprised either. I mean, it's just amazing to see how much they've both grown as performers. Just, from last time I saw them and at AIW 200 in Akron as just, hey, we're a tag team. I believe they wrestled Bear Country that night. So just to see where they came from, it's just like, these sort of, this is our starting out as a tag team act. And now they're sort of they're showing more of their individual personality while staying a unit, which is cool to see their growth as performers from then until now. You can tell that they get it and that they're going to be in a good position, and the future of AIW and then the future of independent wrestling 5 years from now.
How do you feel about the Bitcoin Boys and Mikey, Pam?
So for as much as I hate them, I like them. But yeah, like what Kenny said, like they've grown so much in such a short amount of time too. And the way that they are shining through as individuals, like Eric and Dom, that match on Go for Broke, 20-minute draw, like I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't know Eric could wrestle all like that. Like, it's good to see that, like, we're finally getting to see that side of these guys and, like, to see the individualness in each one, but still have them as the tag team. And even with Duke managing them, and we know how we feel about the Duke. So, but yeah, like those two have grown so much, and I can't wait to see where they're going. Like, God forbid, I don't wish anything upon anybody in any aspect, but like, what if one of them got hurt? Like they still have to work as individuals, and like, not everybody wants like, I don't know how to describe, but like if they see like an individual person in each one instead of like them as a tag, you know what I mean? Like, it's good for them to have their own character inside of the boys,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we also, for as much as we've put over the Bitcoin Boys, I'm excited that we got to see Philly Collins in a singles match.
Absolutely.
I remember seeing, I remember when Philly Collins first came in, like his first match, I think it was Music Links or, whatever the Men Are on the Lake venue was. And
Tequila Jacks.
Yeah, Tequila Jacks. And then, like, the podcast after that show, The Card Is Going to Change, Thorne was like, Philly Collins was booked primarily because of Bachelor Party Championship Wrestling. And, I guess they had a bachelor party. Philly Collins was like, I'm going to make this a party. This is going to be fun. And then Thorne was like, okay, this is an act we're going to put on, I'm going to put on the show. And then him linking up with Marino, and then them growing as a tag team to be one of the best tag teams. Right now, the best tag team in AIW, and they got the gold to prove it. Sorry if anybody else thinks a little different, but when you're the champs, you're the champs, and that means you're the top of the heap. So I've wanted to see PME break out and be booked all over the place. I did see them one time. I think they came along with Justice to the GCW show right before the pandemic. And I was like, oh, this is great. I was like, even though GCW fears tag team wrestling, it's cool for Philly and Marino to come out and show face and, network and stuff, because they are a great tag team like we all know. And I want more people to be able to see those guys do their thing.
We talked about it last week on the show too, that Tequila Jacks, Men Are on the Lake show, Music Links, whatever it was called at that time, it was Season of the Witch, and Frankie Flynn beat Philly Collins. But yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah. That was the Jeff Cobb show. Yes,
too. Before I was a fan of, that's the Halloween 3 show, because I did not know what Season of the Witch was. Now I do, and I love it. Any other thoughts on that match?
There was a good back and forth between Mikey and Philly, where they were doing the series in the ring, and and like they ended up propped up, and like they ended up slapping each other around, and I thought that part was pretty cool.
Yeah, the bridge, like the classic ECW, like Jerry Lynn, the RVD Jerry Lynn, where they're both in like a neck bridge and they're slapping each other, like All Japan style. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I thought the finish was sweet. Duke interfering, knowing that his guy just got tombstoned, and then they tease the lie, cheat, and steal finish, only to do the roll up. Still has heat. A lot of fun. 3.5 fire emojis.
Well, it was Mikey getting the pin and picking up the victory. On to the next match. Pam, I think you were waiting for the entrance music for one of these wrestlers earlier. We had the production, Ziggy Haim and Derek Director versus 40 Acres, Pretty Boy Smooth, and Jocelyn Navarro versus Bulking Season, Chuck Stone, and Arthur MacArthur, and, of course, 9 to 5, Jack Verville, and Lewis Linden. So this is what you were needing when we called upon you after the figure talk.
Yes. Also, fun fact, I did my homework and I took notes kind of from the Wrestling Cheers Twitter, right? So I have match 3, the 4 tag teams. And then the first note says 9 to 5 has annoying music. And
if you can even call it music.
Yeah, like I fucking hate it. Like I don't know if you could see me, but I was sitting there with my ears covered and I hate it. I hate it. I wish it was 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton, but that's a different story for a different day.
As a whole, I do love 9 to 5. They're not somebody I'm necessarily going to root for, but seeing like something different from Lewis Linden is something I love. That
I'll give him that.
Yeah, the alarm clock going off is a nice added touch. The thing too, the fact that they were the last team out, and I'm like, okay, process of elimination. I will say this too. Me and Charlie Butters were texting, and we called this match. We're like, wait, with them saying that 40 Acres was going to be in action and the production was going to be in action, and there being like some promos from 9 to 5 kind of talking about Bulking Season. And vice versa. I was like, okay, there has to be a 4-way, and that's like what both me and Charlie came to. So
yeah,
when
I had the same conclusion myself earlier in the day. I was like, that's what it has to be. If they're in action, but there's not anything listed on the thing, like that's what it has to be. Just not thrown together, but like a match for the card that wasn't advertised.
Yeah, because I didn't know that it was going to be a 4-way. So the production comes out, Derek and Big Zig, and then 40 Acres came out. I tweeted the production versus 40 Acres, a tale as old as time. And it got a lot of traction for some reason by a bunch of people who I didn't think were even going to be around to watch the show. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Longtime fans understand that, like, this is, there's been 30 iterations of the production at this point, and 40 Acres has been around for a super long time, and they're still struggling, even though they still got beef, even though it's different people for the most part, which is, I think, hilarious.
Yeah, that's true. It's maybe not necessarily come down to the production versus 40 Acres, but Derek versus PB or Pretty Boy Smooth has been that story that's gone. I mean, started with.
Yeah, it's like the thread that's woven through the whole thing.
Yeah, started with, Frankie versus PB with the whole Back to the Future Cup stuff.
Yep.
A little note that I want to make from this match, and it's something that I kind of talked about earlier, kind of like hinted at. So I made a joke last week, and I do want people to understand that this was a 100% joke. And it stemmed from a Twitter conversation that I had with this wrestler, and I meant no ill will about it. And I don't want anybody to take it that way. I just want to make sure, because I have a really bad problem of saying things and maybe people don't understand that I'm joking, because like, I don't mean a lot of ill. If I did, you would know it. So I said that like, I can't wait to be sitting front row with, dipping pizza into applesauce, from my fanny pack, and watching Arthur MacArthur in a dark match. This kind of stemmed from that a Twitter conversation that I had with Arthur MacArthur, and it started with like, he doesn't like fanny packs, and I was like, well, you like coleslaw, so he was like, well, but you like dipping pizza in applesauce. So that's why like a lot of that stuff was clumped in with that joke, and I wanted to joke with him like on Twitter, but I just saved it. So I said that like, oh, I can't wait to see you in a dark match. meant no ill will by like I said, it was a joke. And I don't want anybody to take it as such. I love bulking season, and I'm sorry if anybody did take it like that. I will say this too, because like I said, I mean no ill will to any wrestler. Like where things are right now with AIW, I love everybody on the roster. There's no one that I hate, and the purpose of this show as a whole is not to bury anybody. I'm not someone who's going to critique your moves because I'm not a wrestler. Other people could do that, and I've heard wrestlers say like they don't care if fans do it. Like for me, I don't do that. A lot of this show is to promote AIW, the love of AIW and all that kind of stuff.
And you've been like vocally supportive of Arthur MacArthur many times on record on not just this show, but many others. So, you know,
for sure.
You and Arthur know you're cool. So
yeah, love Arthur.
That's what matters.
Also, obviously, love Chuck Stone. We haven't heard
Charles
it.
Hamburger.
I haven't heard his episode of Pod Van Dam yet. That'll come out after we record it. Can't wait to hear that. If you haven't checked it out, go check out Pod Van Dam.
Pod Van Dam.
It's Wrestling Cheers.
It's Wrestling Cheers.
It's Wrestling Cheers.
We almost started the show off like that earlier, but I'm not going to take somebody else's open from them. It was more of a joke that we were kind of having.
It's all love.
Yeah, nobody would have realized it was like a pre-show joke.
But
one singles match that this match spawned for me that someday I want to see down the road is Chuck Stone versus Big Ziggy Haim.
Oh,
Dude,
I think one day that the Absolute Intense Wrestling universe is going to run on Ziggy Power. In a couple of years, I think it's going to happen. I would love to see the two of them mix it up in a one-on-one type situation.
I just want to see Charles Hamburger destroy everybody.
that's the thing. I made the comment to him at intermission. I was like, "Why do you got to kill everybody in a match? Like, what is? Because like, what was it last show? It was Mikey. Like, because he had that spotlight. I was like, oh my god! Like, it seemed like he just killed Mikey. I thought there might have been another match from that weekend as I quickly tried to pull. Oh no, because it was his bulking season went up against 9 to 5. There was nothing like that. But so there was that other match and this to where everyone just like, we legitimately think you, well, okay, not legitimately, but we think you really fucked this person up. Like it's powerful. It's awesome. So I did make that comment at intermission, but yeah, I love that. The match that I want to see coming out of this, and it actually involves two people not in AIW, and a side note thing of something I want to see someone who is kind of in AIW, was there in crowd, but wasn't there on the show. That the match that I want to see involving people not in AIW is 9 to 5 versus Dan the Dad and Philip Cardigan.
I mean, main event anywhere in the world.
I mean, if you know who those wrestlers are, I think they would be hilarious. They'd have a nice comedy match, or even like a legitimate match against 9 to 5. A little bit alike. I think they all share a love for coffee, so that'd be something to have a nice pre-match thing. But also,
that's a good spot to work in the match.
Somebody that was there Friday night, but wasn't in a match, sadly. But when I seen him, I hugged him, told him I loved him. What if CPA joined 9 to 5?
That'd be great. I mean, I remember I tweeted at CPA. I was like, who are these CPA, the knockoffs that AIW is rolling out here? Like the first time they showed up. And he was like, it was probably around the same time that he changed back from Nick Stapp to CPA. Yeah. And he was like, what's happening? Like he was definitely not paying attention to pro wrestling that night for wherever he was. He was like, what is even going on right now? I was like, AIW has got this new tag team called 9 to 5. They're businessmen. You need to join them as a trio and do the business.
Would it be the because it's the bitter banker, the angry accountant, the ticked off tax man.
Right. There you go. He was the ticked off tax man in WrestlePro the last time they had a show in New Jersey. He teamed with Colt Cabana against the Boogie Woogie Man and then turned on Colt Cabana, slapped him right in the face. Evil, angry tax man. And then, the world shut down. So hopefully we'll see a reprise of the evil, angry tax man soon.
But those were some of my feelings on this outside of AIW stuff, but there is a fun nature, and this isn't anything against the other two teams in this match, but God, fucking the production and 40 Acres. The more I see Jocelyn in the ring, the more I love her. Like, she's absolutely awesome. And like the
100%.
way
Definitely.
like she attacks everybody, especially men. Like,
that slap was so good.
love
slap ever.
Love everything she does. And like also Ziggy too, and Derek. There's just so much, and like it's not
When
something.
Derek uses her as a weapon, that's
Yeah.
the fucking best shit in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
because you don't expect it, but it's fucking hilarious, but also very good.
if you look at the entire roster, if I were to choose any one person to pick up and use as a weapon, it's got to be Big Zig. I mean, the biggest, thickest, heaviest force in all of AIW, Ziggy
Absolutely.
Haim. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Big Zig.
And I think this was the match where it was you had like everybody throw everybody out of the ring. You know, one person threw out one person, then that person threw out. Well, got thrown out by the next person, and like then that's when we got all the way down to Derek and Ziggy. That was an awesome little sequence.
With I love how they set it up too, where she comes off the ropes and they do sort of like that lucha pass into the setup for the director's cut, I guess, as he launches her off the top rope and onto the pile of bodies. It was just awesome. It's never not impressive.
Those two together are just a chef's kiss. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't ask for a better team. Like, not at all.
It's just so cool with the production, just as a longtime fan, because it's like the first time they came out, I was like, all right, this is cool. And then it evolved into, the version with Magnum CK, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. And then Magnum retired, and then it was Eddie Only Danhausen with Derek, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then, like, it's just kept evolving and continued to be a really great act, and now it's turned into something just as awesome, but just a completely different flavor with how Derek and Ziggy interact with each other. So definitely, as a longtime production fan, I'm very excited to see what they're doing and how the whole thing's working out.
Big fucking same, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, and Jocelyn's no joke either. She goes hard, and she's super fun to watch. She's another one who's totally used Go For Broke as her launching pad to get everybody to know more about her as a person and her story, on top of what she can do in the ring. She's and outside of AIW, I believe she has a match with Willow Nightingale coming up soon. It either happened this weekend or it's happening next weekend.
It happened. It happened this past weekend at Black Wrestlers Matter 2.
Okay, so that's definitely a match that I definitely want to watch, because I feel like they would have a killer match against each other, and then good on whoever booked that show to put them in a singles match, because that's smart.
Jocelyn is someone as a whole that even before she got into AIW, I watched her like travel from place to place, and she was getting a little bit further than I saw other wrestlers getting. And now you've added her within AIW, and that is going to get even bigger. She's going to get even better. She's adding a lot of touches, and she's really defining and redefining herself. I can't say enough good things about this entire match, whether it be things we saw in the ring, whether it be like a lot of these tag teams, like even coming down to 9 to 5, to where this is like such a fresh thing for Lewis Linden, where like the vignettes that were put on YouTube are great. I haven't seen I don't see this much personality. It just, the fact that it is something new, it just seems so fresh, so awesome. And they're going to be so much fun to boo. And I can't wait to see it. So there's something about this night, kind of in this match too, but it started actually early on with the first match, and we've completely looked over it. I think we even looked over it in the preview. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No? Question mark?
The AIW return of referee Jake motherfucking Clemens. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what kills me, though? Because in my notes, I have 1, no dark matches this show. 2, Jake returns, ! And we never talked about it.
To be fair, too, like now that Cage Match will actually throw up a lot of AIW results, like somewhat fairly quick. Like even with Go for Broke, there were some shows that were up within an hour after the show was over. But I'll switch back and forth between that and the Wrestling Cheers Twitter feed. And literally, like, I started on match 1, which obviously we talked about. The tweet right before that is a picture of Jake, hashtag AIW Major, @Clemens Jake is back, which I think he used on his own personal social media too. He's got a big,
love Jake.
Yeah, he's got a big old smile on his face in this picture. It's great to have him back. It's great to have obviously AIW back, like, and also the first show back without masks, which, I mean, nothing against the mask, but it felt just a little bit different, especially when we were chanting.
Oh, yeah. It was so weird because I'm so used to it at this point.
Yeah.
But I was even kind of iffy going into it. Like, do I, don't I, do I, don't I? I had it with me just in case I started feeling weird. But yeah, it was definitely, this weekend felt more like 2019 and normal than any other day of my life has, because I've literally not stopped living during any of this. Like, I've been doing everything like a normal human, just in a mask because I've had to, so it definitely felt normal. Screaming, yelling, and like, I know that's technically what everybody was freaking out about because particles and blah, blah, blah. But getting to chant and yell and be a crazy asshole definitely felt good.
Yeah, especially too, the main event might have been felt a little bit different if we all had masks on. So I'm happy that it came out the way it did. Like, I can't wait to talk about that one. But any other thoughts on this absolutely great tag team match?
Other than the murder to Zig, it was a good match. It was a very good match between everybody.
I mean, once again, for AIW, I don't feel like there's a bad match on the card.
For not having a lot of people there and it kind of feeling, you know what I mean? Like, this was definitely like homegrown for the most part and everything in between. But like, it was a great show. There was not a bad match on this card. Like, there really wasn't.
A lot of money might have went into the main event, and it might show with like a lot of the homegrown talent that you had. But the fact that there was that homegrown talent, it didn't feel that way. We have a lot of We have a lot of stars in AIW. There was one other big name that we'll get to later, but other than that, like, if I were to say like what the actual weakest match on the card, and it's not a knock, it would be the opening match, and it mostly goes with, you had 3 wrestlers who just aren't as connected to the fan base. The match itself was very good, especially with that type of talent. And it was a great start for the show, but everything got better and better and better from there. That was our starting point. So it has to be I don't even like calling it the worst match on the card. Like, sounds like an insult, but it's how it goes. All still a great show. And much like the other 2 shows that we reviewed previously here, solid. And the fact too, the length of the show was very nice. Very nice. It is weird.
Dude, I could not believe what time it was when I looked at my phone. I was like, you shitting me? I'm not ready to go home yet. Like,
yeah, so it's absolutely fantastic. But if we have nothing more on that match, the tag team match, it was Pretty Boy Smooth pinning Arthur MacArthur to pick up the win for 40 Acres.
And he kept it playa.
Let's move on to the next match. Next up, we had Eric Taylor versus Dominic Garrini. Part 1 of 2 of Dom kills a Bitcoin boy. But yeah, technically this match didn't really last long. According to Cage Match, it lasted a little under 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 58 seconds.
And it was really good until it got interrupted.
Yes.
Yeah. Fucking Mikey. Fucking Duke.
Basically had the Duke and Mikey coming out and attacking Dom and just literally beating the piss out of him. And you had to figure somebody was coming out.
And then they hit that money-making music.
Okay, side note.
In all honesty, though, go ahead, Justin.
Pam, I don't know if you're going to say what I'm about to say. I had my hopes on somebody else.
Me too, because I thought maybe John would give Dom his happiness just that one time.
Same, but I was just like, come on.
I was like, is that Kevin? Is it? And then the music hit, and I was pleasantly surprised and freaked the fuck out.
It was one of those moments, like within like a second or so, or maybe within at least 2 seconds, it clicked. And okay, it wasn't one member of Team Filthy, it was the main member of Team Filthy. And that's the way I tweeted it as, even though technically, right. I think a lot of people were calling it Dom and Tom.
It was just easier to chant.
I like Team Filthy. I don't know, that just sounds funny. Like, because it has a legitimate, like, you know, team, this person, right. But the fact that it's Filthy Tom Lawler, and so it's like, you know, like, you know, yeah, I like things filthy. We're Team Filthy. I don't know. To me, I love that.
That's their deal in that other place on the Zone. That's their legit name on that in that other fed on DAZN. That's spelled Dazn. Sorry, I just think it's the dumbest thing on the planet. It's like, yeah, they're on this network. It's called Dazn. And then, like, the guy in charge does interview and he's like, oh, you mean DAZN? It's like, okay. Thanks, Charday.
So, yeah, Filthy Tom Lawler music hits, comes out, saves Dom, and Tom wants him a piece. He wants a tag team match. Obviously, Filthy Tom Lawler and Dom, they're in. Passes the mic to the Duke and Eric Taylor. Eric Taylor's like, yeah, man. So yeah, we have Mikey out there. So you're thinking, all right, we got Team Filthy versus the Bitcoin Boys. Well, Mikey is knocked out.
Yeah, Mikey's done be a dead body on the side of the ring.
The way his legs twitched cracked me up.
Yeah, the way they shot it for the stream was funny as hell too. It was just like they were trying to talk and Mikey's dead body is just like flattened out on the floor.
Yeah, when I watched it on there, because like seeing it from the other side, like in person, and then seeing it on playback, it was funny as shit.
Yeah, it's very funny.
When they carried Mikey out, it was a very Weekend at Bernie's moment because of how dead he looked. But yeah, Mikey couldn't answer, but we had the Duke stepping in. So basically the match gets started. We got the Duke and Eric Taylor versus Filthy Tom Lawler and Dominic Garrini. This was awesome. I don't know, seeing Filthy back, having him with Dom, just so much fun there. And obviously too, kind of like going back what I was saying earlier about the Bitcoin Boys in AIW, like so good. And you know, going back to that match in Go for Broke, there's a lot more from Eric Taylor. Eric Taylor might have been able, you know, to go the distance again. This might have been a good, 10-15 minute match between the two, but no. You got Mike and the Duke coming in, and we get this tag team match. What were your thoughts on this match? Let's go with Pam.
I thought it was a pretty great match, simply because I have waited to hear Filthy Tom's music in the ODN for over a year now, so it was nice. But seeing them wrestle and getting to eventually choke out the Duke, I loved seeing that. One thing I did not love seeing was the Duke having to strip prior to getting in the match, but he's always clocked in, so I should have figured he had his gear on underneath.
What were your thoughts on the match, Kenny?
I mean, Tom Lawler comes out and the whole Odeon just goes completely ape. I popped at home, but I was just like, oh man, that whole place is going nuts right now. Like everybody is just on their feet screaming. I was like, oh, that's so awesome. And just that, everybody just being that hyped for the match is, not only super excited to see Filthy Tom, but how much they hate the Duke. I mean, as much as we hate to give the Duke credit, he does his job as being just this swarmy, hateable guy so well. And so it's great. The match was really fun. Your back and forth tag match, lots of fun. And then, as Pam mentioned, the double choke out from Team Filthy, 4.5 fire emojis. Enjoy.
The real quick, the one thing that did gross me out though, after the match.
Oh, we'll get to that. We will get to that.
Okay, because I was gonna say.
What? Well, actually, hold on. Let's talk about this. You kind of had a moment where both Filthy Tom Lawler and Dominic Garrini were choking out Eric Taylor and the Duke. I think looking at this picture, we had, I think Dom had Eric Taylor and Filthy had the Duke. I don't know if one of them tapped or it was referee stoppage for both of them.
At the end of the match, it was the Duke tapping.
Okay.
Watching it on playback, you can actually see, because from where I was sitting, I couldn't tell what actually happened.
Okay, so thank you, Pam. Thank you for doing your homework better than I did. We had, the Duke tapping out, so Filthy Tom Lawler and Dominic Garrini pick up the win. And in celebration, Filthy Tom Lawler grabs the Haas boot, asks for beer from the crowd, pours a bottle of Bud Light into it, and then drinks Das Boot.
I think it came from Pat's side of the row.
It did.
And when I saw it go, I'm like, no, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And then Dom poured it in there. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so gross. This is worse than like COVID shit. Like, no, like don't do it. He just, oh my God, it was just absolutely disgusting.
What's worse, that or ranch dressing?
Ooh, tough one. Because I don't like beer, so I can't choose.
But it's not just beer; it's beer out of a boot. To remind everybody, a beer that I have this reminded to me. Beer out of Worldwide's old boot.
Oh man! Oh, I didn't even realize that was Worldwide's old boot. Ooh, that's still a tough one because I really, really, really hate ranch dressing. So I don't know, man. Oh, that's tough.
It's time for a little segment that we like to call
Oh, what's on tap?
What's on tap?
It's a bottle of ranch dressing.
Craft brewed from
Hidden
Negotia,
Valley.
New Hampshire.
From Hidden Valley.
Was able to have it shipped from Troy Nelson's house. Hilarious.
That's a off the hop rope reference for those who don't get it, but yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'm very lost.
She's like, great. Hit the alarm clock when you're ready for me to talk again. All right, cool. I'll take another nap. Are we good? Okay. Yeah. So that was that, and that got us into intermission. That felt like a really fast intermission, but after the match and during intermission, it was announced on Dominic Garini's Twitter. At least that's where I first seen it. During major announcement, and he used hashtag major announcement. Wrong hashtag for the show, but for what he's doing, it was a major announcement. He said he'll be taking some time off. The exact tweet or the screenshot read, so I want to announce it before people start seeing it online and matches and appearances. I've been announced for a change, but my match tonight at AIW will be my last match for at least the next month. I have an injury that will keep me out of the ring for hopefully a short period of time. I plan to attack this and come back stronger than ever. I want to thank and for you all to come to support indie wrestling, IWTV, and everyone that has given me a chance. I will be back and better than ever. So
all positives for Dom, the Bone Collector.
For sure.
You know, it's never a good time for any of that to happen, but you know, I know he definitely had some momentum going with MLW, who's going to be coming back in a couple of weeks. So who knows if he's going to be able to at least appear there, but not wrestle, because I know they film 13 weeks of tapings at once. So it would be a bummer for him to miss all of that stuff. But best wishes to him, speedy recovery, and we know he'll come back just as strong and better than ever when it's time.
For sure. Dom is definitely a trooper, and he's going to come back and kick everybody's ass. For sure.
So hopeful speedy recovery to Dominic Garrini. And Can't wait to see him back at what I'm guessing will be the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tournament, and hopefully where he's going to win it and prove me right. But
that's Derek.
We will see. So we came back from intermission. Let's move on to that first match. Started things off with Ethan Wright versus Lee Moriarty, something that I did not think about during the preview recording, but it was mentioned on social media by John Thorne, is you have the Battle of the New Talent Initiative, because you had Lee Moriarty come out one year and Ethan Wright come out the next. And I hope people aren't put to sleep like Pam was earlier, but because I know that's
my God.
I know that's how people feel about Ethan Wright, but let's get your guys' thoughts on this match. Start with Pam.
So, look, I love Lee. Love. I was bored to shit. There's something about that dude. Like, he is like the fucking charisma sucker or something. Like, I don't fucking get it. Like,
Ethan Wright has got all of the same characteristics that John Thorne loves in a worker like a Tyson Dukes, or like from an in-ring standpoint, like or like a Tracy Williams, where he's just like a no-nonsense mechanic. Not that what he does is bad, but everything he does is smooth. Like I get real big 1993 Stunning Steve Austin vibes from him, because it's just like he's smooth, but it's like nothing he does stands out. He's definitely not flashy. He's the opposite of flashy. I could see why him being put in with Lee would be an interesting match, because it's very technical, but at the same point, it's definitely a match you put on when you come back from intermission, so that if people who may not be all the way into it or not into that style of match can finish up whatever they're doing at intermission beforehand. But yeah, Lee Moriarty, undisputed, arguably the best wrestler in North America right now. Going in against a guy like Ethan Wright, who's got the technical tools to do what he's got to do. So I can understand, Pam's opinion on not being all that hyped about this match. At the same time, I think it came across really well. And I thought Ethan had a really good showing in a match with a guy who is, arguably the best wrestler in North America right now.
I just don't. I need something more than I was trained by Harley Race. Like,
Sure.
I don't
totally
know.
get
like,
it.
Stacy and I were sitting in the crowd, and every couple seconds we'd be like, "Did you know Harley Race taught him that?"
I was trained by Harley Race.
It's just like fucking off like that, But like, I don't know. Because like, I don't mind technical wrestling matches, not at all. Like, I watch them, I enjoy them.
Sure.
Like you said, it's too smooth, too rounded, too not eye-catching. Like, I just need something from him in the future, and I'm not the only person that feels this way, Like, there are people that have said it before, and we just need something.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I
just don't know what it is.
When I first saw him, you could tell that he was a seasoned, worker, for lack of a better word. And then listening to the preview show with Orange and Brock talking about how this guy's got 11 years of experience, but, has only been seen in one part of the country that doesn't get a whole lot of buzz. It's great for him to, be still, do a part of a new talent initiative for a company like AIW that's got some eyes on it, that's going to help expand what he's doing. So, but yeah, I mean, totally legitimate concern. I can see what you're saying, but the guy's definitely technically solid in the ring. It's just, there's something, a little extra spice that just needs to be thrown in there to enhance the overall presentation.
For sure.
I think watching him live in matches, especially this one against Lee with a crowd, is a lot better than watching him on Go for Broke with no real crowd. Like, I know there's other wrestlers there that we don't see off camera, or we don't see on camera. They are off camera, but that was the big difference. It's so much better like this. I think it's one of those things that maybe over time he's going to get better at a lot of that kind of stuff, because I felt drawn in a little bit more in this match than I had previously. Maybe it was because he was against Lee. Maybe it's because he's put a little bit something more in there. It is kind of weird that we had the one night only thing at the last show of him with the Duke. And I don't know if it, obviously it's just that one time thing, or that's something we're going to build on, because we saw
I'm sure it's a builder.
Yeah, we've seen some sprinkles of it in Go for Broke, and I figure something's going to happen down the road, and it would make sense. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm assuming the next show something, you know what I mean, because of Go for Broke.
So yeah, we've seen a lot with it, hoping to see more. But like I said, for me, I was pulled in a little bit more, but I do know other people are feeling that way. Like you said, Pam. Nothing else I got to say about it. Any final thoughts?
4 fire emojis.
How about you, Pam?
4 sleepy emojis. Just kidding. No, I mean, it was a good match, but like, I just need something more from that in the future. Lee is great, and I always look forward to the yahoo! Goddamn, my voice is fucking gave out as I tried to do that. But yeah.
All right, it was Ethan Wright picking up the win via pinfall over Lee Moriarty. That one kind of surprised me. Let's move on to the next match. And what was crazy, basically the second half is pretty short. Match-wise, we only have 3 matches in this, so process of elimination, knowing what the main event was, I was wondering whether something would happen before this one or after it, like some other unannounced match. Nope. But the placement of this match was great. We had Marino Tenaglia versus Trey Lamar, and this is something that I told Trey to his face, and I might have said it on the show at one point, but I think about it every time I see him wrestle. I am so proud of how far he has come, and he's not done yet. The work that he's put in, and to get this spot, the match before the main event, him and Marino fucking killed it. I want, Marino to stay in the tag team with Philly, but obviously we know Philly can go, and sky's the limit for Trey. And I'm hoping he's putting in more and more work. He's someone else that I know was booked for Black Wrestlers Matter too. And, so basically he went from Cleveland to Iowa. And okay, it is an easy trip considering it's mostly Turnpike, but other than that, it's pretty far. And I'm so proud of him. What are your guys' thoughts on this match? Anything else even like with Trey Lamar and Marino? Let's start with Kenny.
This match was awesome, fast-paced, high-fly, flippy, super fun. Basically, enjoy these guys now while you can, while they're on the independents, because I don't think either of them will be around for much longer. Like I say, I've been a huge PME fan. I love seeing Philly Collins wrestle as a single. I love seeing Marino wrestle as a single. I love seeing the two of them wrestle together. They should be getting booked everywhere, every weekend. And Trey Lamar's, dudes, there's, like you said, Justin, we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg of that dude's talent yet. He's got so much more in front of him, and he's as good as he is now. So it's just a killer, super fun, awesome, hell of a match, and definitely one to not skip if you are checking out the show on Jerry's Independent Wrestling Emporium, IWTV.
How about you, Pam?
I mean, what is there to say that hasn't been said already? Like, they both are freaking great. There was a lot of high flying flippy shit and everything in between. For them both being a part of tag teams and everything, Marino doesn't really get to do a lot of singles matches, so it's nice to see Marino in a singles match. Trey, whether he's alone or in a tag team, always stands out, and he's been fucking killing it. He does have big things things ahead of him. I'm sure they both do. But it was a very great match and definitely not one to miss.
Yeah, I think that kind of says it all. Pulling up Cage Match real quick for the time of this match, 13 minutes and 25 seconds.
That's a fast 13 minutes too. I was thinking about 8 or 9 minutes.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have said 13.
It was Trey beating Marino via a referee stoppage.
A surprising finish, I think, because you have that's Trey defeating one half of the tag team champions. Marino went into this match as a champion. Of course, the belt was not on the line, but not very often you see a champion lose in a non-title match or in a singles match type situation. So hopefully we will see something extend out of that down the road.
All right, let's unless you had something else, Pam.
No, it was a good match. I like those guys. It's pretty good. Oh crap. I dropped my vape. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I did that out loud. I was just about to hit mute too, and it just oh shit.
Yeah, that's good. I like those guys. That's good.
All right, let's move on to the main event. We had Colin Delaney, Cheech, Wes Barkley, and Joshua Bishop, To Infinity and Beyond, and the Rip City Shooters versus Dylan Hornswoggle Postel, Mark Sterling, Brian Myers, and Matt Cardona, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Figure 4. This match was fucking awesome. I only went back to rewatch this match on IWTV the next day after I got home from Ohio, and I think it is just as good. The match that it keeps reminding me of is an Absolution match. I think it's Absolution 8. I will attempt to look it up really quick, but it was Michael Hutter, aka EC3. This was right after he left WWE as Derek Bateman. So he was coming back as Michael Hutter, and obviously he hadn't been to TNA yet, so he didn't have the whole EC3. So like I said, Michael Hutter versus Tim Donst. And that crowd, I'm telling you, and I believe you can find it on IWTV, is insane. There's literally back and forth chants of Michael Hutter, Tim fucking Donst. Both chants are very strong, and it's almost endless for about what I think is a minute. I've never officially counted it, but it is long, at least longer than normal chants. And just the intensity of that crowd, I have not felt in AIW, at least what I off of memory, than this particular match. Because you have the home team, Team AIW, versus the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, 3 dudes who have been in WWE and, have been on WrestleMania. One who is just now getting to AEW, but, he's grouped in with the other 3. There's a lot of stuff going on too, especially with like Nick Gage and Matt Cardona, and a lot of, granted, this isn't GCW, but a lot of fans still pay attention. A lot of fans, especially AIW fans, are going to gravitate more towards Nick Gage, so they're going to be anti Matt Cardona. And basically what you would consider who the good guys were and the bad guys were by like, okay, you got these 4 big stars coming in, going up against normally 4 dudes who are heels, especially into Infinity and Beyond. We will get into that in this match. The shit that I have heard chanted during this match, I never thought I would hear before, ever. Or at least no time soon. But like the roles were switched. You had, no matter how much you hated To Infinity and Beyond a month ago or 2 months ago or a year ago, the fact that they were the home team, you're going to root for them. No matter how much you love Matt Justice and wanted him to regain or even beat Joshua Bishop, on this night, you were Team AIW, and you hated the quote, doll dorks, end quote. Dumbest thing that I heard said this night, and I will call them out, was Orange Flaccidity. After the match, Brian Myers did make a comment saying that Chandler Biggins, he believes Chandler Biggins would be a big fan of the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. And Orange goes, no. And I look at him and I go, no, he would be. He 100% would be. And that's something I have said as a fan of that show. He would be so in love with it and so about it. There's no way in hell I think he'd hate it.
For sure.
Totally. The first AIW show I went to, what was it? Double Dare, night 1 in November. I bought a Yokozuna Bendum from the Chandler Biggins flea market wrestle table for like $3.
Oh,
just
nice.
To be like, this is before like the whole figure thing blew up, or it was like, only I think Fully Posable had started, but it wasn't anywhere near like what it is now, and it was like, Biggins would have loved it. Biggins would have loved the show. He would be forcing Thorne to be talking about weekly purchases every week on The Card Is Going to Change. It would be very fun. And, it would be part of the whole thing. Absolutely. There's no... Orange is just angry and bitter because this boy lost.
Yeah, well... We'll get to
not really, but you know what I mean.
Well, they
Orange is just angry and bitter.
Yeah, he's doing it to be against anybody that's against his boy.
Right.
Which I mean, that's fine, but that's definitely like, no, man, that's Biggins would love. It's even crazy. Like, as we're recording this is the 4-year anniversary of when we lost Biggins, and
I still can't believe it's been that long.
And I didn't realize too. 1 year ago today was the last Toy Hio with Tom.
I had that same realization this afternoon, and it made me very sad. That was the last time we got to actually hang out with Tom, and I was very sad.
Yeah, and this is something I posted in the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Patreon Facebook group, like how I never thought I'd see the day that like this caliber of match of, not necessarily caliber, but having, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers in AIW. And I think it sucks that I can't share that with Biggins. I can't share that with Tom, because Tom, especially this weekend with Toy Hio and this show being the way it was, he would be in heaven.
Yeah. Like that, Myers was his fucking favorite. Like, he fucking loved that shit. Like, he would have been 10,000% overfilled with joy. Like,
and
yeah, I mean, I think with Toy Hio drawing the most amount of people that they've ever drawn ever, Tom has got to be looking down and being excited about it. And same thing with Biggins. Like, Biggins looking down and seeing what AIW has grown into from even just from what it's evolved in these past couple of years, he's got to be stoked about it. He would absolutely be stoked on their podcast. He would absolutely be stoked that they were coming in, to hang for the weekend and do the toy show and do the wrestling and all that stuff. Biggins would be just as hyped as any of us to be a part of all of this stuff. So,
okay, no more sad stuff. I don't want to cry.
I mean,
not till the end of the episode.
It's funny that like people look at the core 4, or the figure 4, or whatever you want to call them, as the quote away team, when Swoggle's been a regular for the last like 3.5 years at AIW, and Hawkins would also, Brian Myers would also make AIW a stop from his last, hot indie run, as he likes to call it. So, I mean, we basically got imported a creative pro talent in Smart Mark Sterling and Zack Ryder, who's like literally, he got over in the face of the Office trying to bury him every chance the Office could. So, I mean, such a great success story if you really look at it. Like, when you talk about when you get to WWE and you got to, you know, cash in the brass ring and all this other stuff, like, you know, Zach went against the grain and had arenas full of people chanting his name when guys like The Rock and CM Punk were in the ring. So, you know, they completely dropped the ball with what they could have done with Zack Ryder, and the idea that he's now free to do what he wants with Matt Cardona and, you know, show up to Toy, Ohio and do indie shots and then take light tubes from Nick Cage and say, I beat cancer twice, I can beat Nick Cage, you know, and mean it. It's you can't not, you know, at least have somewhere in your heart to be like, okay, this guy's at least cool, he can stay, even though I love to boo him.
I could take him or leave him.
See, that's what I'm saying. But you don't hate it.
I've never been a Zack Ryder fan, like straight out the gate, like WWE. Like I didn't like him then.
But like you're indifferent. You're not just like, I can't wait to flip this guy off when he's too.
Oh, I did it so hard too, like so hard. You can definitely hear my fucking ass scream and shit too. Like oh man. I was banging on the signage thingy in front of me on the barricade. Like, I was going nuts.
Like how all wrestling fans are supposed to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a smile on my face this whole match.
It was good.
It was super fun. Like this whole show is super fun.
I didn't necessarily have anybody I was rooting for. I mean, I kind of stuck up for the figure four a little bit, and the crowd was crazy. I heard it on commentary that, you know, Thorne compared it to ECW One Night Stand. Like I said, I compared it to Donston Hutter, but, you know, that crowd could be very similar to ECW One Night Stand as well. So I think we're all...
Yeah, it was definitely very home team, away team, partisan crowd, whatever you want to call it. But people were hot, screaming, chanting, ranting, and raving, having a good time at the wrestling show, which is what it's all about at the end of the day.
And another thing that I thought was funny was the whole Dull Dorks thing. And halfway through the match, Mark attempts to turn it around. I don't know necessarily how successful it was, because he's like, okay, yeah, we are Dull Dorks. Okay, cool. What else you got? I can't remember if there were any after that. The other thing that I thought was funny too, Hornswoggle talking shit, and he obviously doesn't know as much about Orange Flaccidity, because obviously that was one of, you know, the biggest people trying to start that chant and, like, you know, kill these Dull Dorks and all this shit. Hornswoggle flat out tells him, he's like, we've spent more on figures than you make in a year. I think it might have been. I don't know if he said in your life or a year. Now, Orange told me how much he makes in a year. So he tried to say, like, no, there's no way they spend that much. And like, Orange makes some pretty good money. Not divulging.
Yeah, Swoggle's got expensive taste when it comes to Ultimate Warrior figures.
Well, I was going to throw this up because, like I said, he does make a good amount of money. I will admit that he makes way more than me. But Cardona alone, like, we'll throw out Brian Myers, we'll throw out Smart Mark Sterling, we'll throw out Hornswoggle. Fucking Matt Cardona has spent money on figures in 5 digits. On one.
Oh, for sure. Like, on a figure. Like, dude's insane. Like, that's why they have those stories that start with, that's so broski. You know? Like, it's out of control.
This motherfucker has a toy room full, literally, full of shit.
Right, and it's not just wrestling stuff either. That's the thing. It's
yeah, too.
You know, he's a big Star Wars nerd. He's a big Funko nerd. He's a big Ghostbusters nerd. He's a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles nerd. On top of all the wrestling stuff. So it's like, you know, you can't have every single thing of every single collection that's out there, you know, unless you're a dude like Zack Ryder. And like, that's, I guess, a reason why people hate him so much, because he'd be like, oh, you know, whatever Egon prototype, Kenner 1982 prototype, sure, I'll buy that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Put my DTOF. Like, a friend of mine who, you know, I've known locally through the figure community, actually sold something to Mr. Cardona, and they best offered him, and he went back and forth, and he was like, I don't know, $35. And he was like, "Will you do for 30?" He's like, "Sure, no problem." And then he finds out that it's Cardona, and he's like, "Oh man, that guy got me for $5." Like, so I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, what are you gonna do? He does what he does. It's, people are into the stuff that they're into. He likes to be, he's into toys, whatever.
And like, he's spent a fuck ton. He's spent money on figures that are prototypes and are literally one of a kinds. Right. So
he left one of his own prototypes of his own figures wrapped in a towel in a hotel someplace. Like, you know what I mean? That would sell for, $15,000 right now. Like, it's just one of those things. Yeah. That's Sobrowski.
So, Orange, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. You do. I mean, you do. I'm not apologizing. You make a lot of money, because you do, but you don't make more than what in a year than what they have spent entirely on figures.
Like, we're talking about like Jack's employee exclusive, like 1 of 25, still in the package. Like, these things, they're crazy expensive. It can get out of control real quick. As I can hear Pam snoring in the background.
I was going to transition back into a little bit more of wrestling with Cardona, because he's somebody who, there is a bunch of people on the internet that hate him. I know it. I've seen it firsthand. Kenny, I know you've seen it firsthand. Sure. And some of that stuff is not directly related to wrestling. And now, coming back to the indies, being somebody who's a fairly big name, not a John Cena, not a CM Punk, but, at one time was one of the highest merchandise sellers in WWE. Like, they were making every bit of merchandise for him, and I think they only do that for the top sellers now. That's end of 2011, beginning of 2012. But he's back now. He's doing something with Nick Gage, I feel one of the most beloved wrestlers on the independents. A lot of people I know, like all of us, can vouch like Gage is awesome and we love him. So he's really good at getting that hatred. And maybe in the real life stuff, the people that hate him for outside of wrestling, maybe in the collecting community, fine, I get it. But when you definitely take that real life stuff and you bring it into booing him, like when his music hit and he came out, the boos were intense, no pun intended. And that first tag in, was fucking crazy. And that's the thing. Like, I love both teams, maybe rooting a little bit more for the figure 4. Smile on my face no matter what. This is great. I fucking love it.
Yeah. Nikki put the pizza cutter up to my mouth and went, Wah! I mean, that's just, I'm not sleeping. You can't.
That's what I was thinking.
It's going to be great, man. I mean, it's super funny. I mean, the whole point of, this thing is to lose your mind for a couple hours watching an entertaining show. And if that means you jump out of your seat cheering in happiness, or if you jump out of your seat, jeering with vitriol, that's the whole point. And the idea that he's got that kind of connection with people to make people either hate him or like him, that's the talent everybody needs in order to truly, be successful at being a pro wrestler. So, it's not about abs or biceps. It's about the connection with the crowd. And you can't deny that Matt Cardona has a connection with the crowd.
All right, Pam, now that you're awake again.
I wasn't sleeping.
I know.
I promise. It was funny though, because when you said, Pam, now you can wake up or whatever a couple minutes ago, Stacy had just borrowed the mouse from me for a second and gave it back to me, and it wasn't the right way. So I'm like fidgeting, trying to unmute the fucking thing, and I can't get the mouse turned around the right way, and it's getting lost in the screen, and I can't see it because I'm blind. And I'm like, fuck it. He probably thinks I'm sleeping. I gotta laugh here in a minute or something. Like,
that's great.
Yeah, I promise I wasn't sleeping. I'm just fucking stupid. That's all.
No way. You just tune out when two nerds get into the toy boyness, which is what happens.
And Foley's also on my screen still. I'm like kind of like watching Mick and Stone Cold with the shit and shooting the shit on the Broken Skull stuff. I'm not listening to it. I could just see Mick like moving his hands and talking like I do. So,
anything else to add to this match? I don't know what else to say.
I will say this. I hated the MDK chants simply because I'm probably gonna get shit for this. I don't fucking care. So look, GCW and AIW are two totally separate promotions. And yes, I know that there is a rivalry going on between Matt and Nick at GCW, but that has absolutely fucking nothing to do with what's happening in the ring at AIW. And I get there were a bunch of major bros dudes there and everybody was riding on the dick and blah, 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 and everything in between. But like, look, if you're an AIW show and that has absolutely nothing to do with anything, don't fucking chant that shit. Like, we took over with the AIW chant into it. I don't want to be like gatekeeper bullshit or whatever, but it's just like, I don't know, like something about that got to me and I have been waiting to say something until now.
That's fine.
Like, I know only the Wrestling Cheers people that listen to are going to hear this or are going to know my opinion, but like, it was fucking stupid. Don't fucking do it again. Like, it has absolutely nothing to do with anything that John was doing that night. And it absolutely distracted from everything in that. And it's like, don't fucking do it. I'm sorry.
And none of those people and none of those people heard John Thorne basically say that GCW was running a show the night before or the next day or whatever in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. So like anybody who's going to be on that show was basically not going to be on this AIW show. So it's basically like if you had heard him say that, which most of these people I'm guessing probably didn't, they would have been disarmed ahead of time knowing that's like, okay, cross off Justice, cross off AJ Gray, cross off Nick Cage, like cross off, you know, these people that we know that are going to be somewhere in Wyoming where there's no direct flights and there's no direct trans and nobody's driving, you know, across 15 states in the Rocky Mountains or whatever to do some dumb whatever they do.
Right. And then like also, or they could have just been fucking smart and thought about it like I did and was like, oh, there's no connecting flights. They're gonna have to go to Denver and then drive to Laramie. There's no fucking way anybody is gonna fucking be there. Like, don't be so fucking stupid. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I fucking hate to be that guy, but like, come the fuck on. I just can't. I just can't with stupid people. Like, I have a low tolerance for stupid people, and not necessarily stupid people, but the stupid thoughts people have. And it's just like, come on. Like, I don't know.
Get it together, man.
Yes, like something. Like, I just, it left a bat. Like, I just,
I can understand where you're coming from, and I'm glad that the AIW chant, you know, took it over, because it wasn't as bad. Like, coming through on the stream was not as bad. And I will even say, like, live as the show was happening, the stream was not very good because there were apparently 4 other shows being live streamed at the same time. So
holy shit, I didn't know it was that many.
Yeah, the live stream was not very good at the time that it was happening. So I went back and watched the show afterwards once it was finally finished. But even turning it down from 720 to like 480 helped a little bit, but it was still very, very choppy. So
on the preview, I openly said that that's the ending I did want. I did want Gage to come out. Did I think it was going to happen? No.
I wasn't directing that at you, by the way.
Well,
I remembered you having that. I was like, shit, he's probably going to think I read him.
This is something we talked about yesterday. I can't remember if it was you were in the conversation. I know I was talking about it with Stacy. The first MDK chant when he came out, for me, that's fine because it's kind of pre-match. He still has, I don't want to say heat, but you know, there's fans that are invested into him versus Gage. So throw it at him at the beginning, you know, before the match starts. Fine. During the match, I'm not as happy about it.
No.
Yeah.
Like
No,
to me, that's where it's different. Like, I mean, you did have Orange leading a lot of chants. And
oh yeah, he would look directly at me and be like, "Let's go." Chant.
I mean, and the thing too, it's not like he was always going up against this MDK chant. I only remember once in the match, but there could have been more. But let's talk about some of those chants too, because
Yeah.
I never thought I would hear To Infinity and Beyond praised and chanted